All right, and hopefully in your workstation at home, you have your laptop and you have another extra screen so that you can follow along with the tutorials. I mean, the ideal scenario is that you have Revit running in your main screen, and then you have this Zoom window in your secondary monitor. And so I'm going to go slow so that, to allow you time to react to the different commands. Sometimes I'm going to repeat the command a couple of times or 3 times so that you don't fall behind. And then in the worst case scenario, the recording is going to be there and try to catch up at the end of the class on your own time. All right, so does everybody has the file? You can just let me know with the, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Got it.
Lee has it, and Cecilia, do you have the data set?
Yeah, I'm good.
Awesome. Luis, Zina. All right, now that we have the file ready, I'm going to open the file. You can just double click the file to open the Revit. I'm going to open using the open command here. And I have all my files, I have it in a partition. I recommend you create a folder as well and put all the files there. And it's asking me to upgrade. That's not a big deal. It's a small file. Shouldn't take a lot of time. And like I was mentioned before, files in Revit can be upgraded, but they cannot be downgraded. So the minute I hit save, this file, it's going to be saved in version 2021. I can open it just in 2021 or in 2022. Revit is a software that is issued on a yearly cycle. And usually the time it gets released is around March and April. We have Revit 2022 currently in the market, but not a lot of organizations has deployed it yet. And so that's why I'm still teaching in 2021. And when you open the file, this is what you're going to be presented. It's an image of a rendering image. And I'm going to use this file to review again the user interface. And so let's review that again. Let's try to remember the different user interface area. This set of commands in the upper left corner, these are called the quick access bar. And these are tools that are very, very frequently used. There's a very important one here. This is the save command. And this is a couple of other ones that we're going to use a lot. This is the undo and redo. The arrow pointing to the left is to undo. The arrow pointing to the right is to redo. You can print from here. You can also add dimensions. You can create a 3-dimensional orthographic view. We're going to do that next. And then these tools can be customized. At some point, I'm going to show you how to do that. But these are like, let's call it the frequently used commands. There's another portion of the user interface, which is write the window title. And the window title has 3 pieces of information. They show you the version of Revit and the incremental version. So I have the incremental version 1.2. If you have like 0 or you haven't installed the incremental version, the incremental versions are available in your Autodesk account, or you can ask your IT to install it for you. Then it's separated by a dash, and next is the model name. So I am working in the Rack Advanced Sample Project, RVT. And this is a quick way to know what's your active project. And then it's followed for the view name. And the view name in this case is the 3D view from parking area. And so very quickly highlight for you where you at in the model, how you navigating in the model.
Yeah, let me get him a chat saying that. Let's see.
You have a question for me?
Yes. I am using like my husband's computer to log in, so that I have two screen here. It's using my computer. So just to let you know, you're not seeing my name there. You see C King?
Yes.
It's me.
Okay, okay, gotcha.
Okay.
No problem. All right, so these are three pieces of information available at the top of the screen. And then in the upper right side, these are called the communication tools. And here you have a way to sign in into the Autodesk account manager, the help files, the Autodesk apps, and the communication center, which display links to blogs and etc. If you close Revit using this X in the upper right side, it's going to close the file, and you don't have to do it, but it closes it without any warning. If you make changes into the file, you're going to get a prompt to save the file. So that's exiting Revit. Once you open a file in Revit, there's a thumbnail associated with the last file open, and you can just click on that thumbnail and you can open that file. The welcome screen will display up to 8 different historical files. It's a quick way to open what you have been working on. All right, so again, quick access bar, the window title, the communication center. The next part of, and I mentioned this in the last class, are the tabs. And the tabs has a collection of panels and commands. We're going to review all of this in our project as we developed this project. And then what I was saying earlier as well is that each tab has what's called a panel, and each panel has a set of commands. This is the build panel. This is the circulation panel, model panel, room area panel, opening panel of the architecture tab. Okay, and this is the view, the active view. And the active view, it's identified by a view tab. Tabs accumulate along this area. And then this portion here on the left side is called the project browser. The project browser allows me to navigate through all the different views in the project, including tabular information, schedules, sheets, and models, and families. So let's open an orthogonal view. The orthogonal view, it's something that it's this command right at the very top. It's a little house in the hill. That's how I call that command. It's in the upper left side. And if you just click this, it's going to open a 3D view. It's an orthographic view looking from the southeast corner of the project. You notice how a new view is open and it's stacked right next to the previous one. And the name of this view is 3D in brackets. So notice when you hover over the model, things start popping up. This is called a pre-selection. And a pre-selection is a quick way to select elements in the project. Just there is a, well, let's talk about the project browser. The project browser is usually stacked on the left side of your user interface. The project browser can be closed. And if you go ahead, just close the project browser by clicking the X in the upper right side of the panel. And usually the project browser, if you have two monitors, you're working at home in two monitors, you could have the project browser floating on your other screen. I don't do that because I'm teaching and just using one screen. But to open again the project browser, just right click on the view, anywhere in the view. And in the right click menu, you're gonna see a menu called Browsers, Project Browser. And this is a right click on the mouse, navigate to browser, and that's gonna bring the project browser back to the last place. There's another window that is super important, and that is the property windows. The property windows is going to disclose all the parameters contained by Revit selection. And you can bring the properties by clicking the property windows via right click. This is what the property window look like. When I have nothing selected in the project, what the property window display are the properties of the view. So notice that the property says 3D view because it's describing this particular view. And these are the properties of all these views. The project browser and the property window can be shifted across the user interface. All you need to do is grab the window from the very top. And what I mean very top is like click on any point in that property window and just drag it out or drag it in. When you drag it out and you touch the cursor to the edge of the user interface, you're gonna see this preview boundary in blue outline that describe the new position of the stack property. So do it again. We'll move this to the right. We'll force it to stay there. I don't know what's not doing it. Okay, stay here. There you go. This movement is a little subtle and it's a little like snappy, but over time you get used to it. The same is true with the project browser. If you want to unstack the property window or the project browser, just click right on top of the window and drag it in or drag it out. So you can leave it floating in your second monitor, or if you click again in the title, stack it to the left. The panels can be stretched in and out, so you can change the size of it just by dragging the boundary of the panel. And they can be also stacked on top of each other. Let me show you how I'm going to stack the property windows on top of the property browser. So I'm going to click on the property window. And then I'm just going to drag it and hit it on top of the other one. You see how there is a preview boundary, blue boundary. And when you release it, you're going to see two tabs right at the bottom. One is the properties and another is the property browser. And all you need to do is like click back and forth between the two panels. So these panels are super important. You must have them on in every modeling session. Understanding how to turn them on and turn them off, it's the first thing I teach my students. So again, repeating, I'm going to close the property window and the project browser. And to bring them back, it's just the right click, properties. And then again, right click, browsers, right browser. And then they're going to, I have them stack them as tabs. And to break the tabs, you just hit on the tab and drag it out. And it's going to create a floating window. You can see here the floating window. You can stack it the way you want. For this particular demo, I'm just going to stack the properties to the left and the project browser to the right. I don't like to stack it on the left. I have to touch the boundary, but I have a 4K. I have a very high resolution monitor, and I think that's why it's getting a little tricky. All right, easy, right? Okay, let's also look at the Revit options. I was showing you yesterday that there's a bunch of tabs here that I may not need. For example, everything that's related to modeling MEP is not something that traditionally architects will have in their user interface. And so to enable or disable tabs on demand, you can use Revit options. And Revit options are available under the File tab. You just hit the File tab. Then you're going to see this button called Options. And this is the Options dialog box. Again, the way you get to it, it's go to the File tab. And right at the bottom of this panel, you're going to see the Options button. Open the Options button. And let's review some of the options in Revit. First of all, it's the username. This is how, this is your name, your account name at Autodesk. It's usually grayed out because this cell is auto-populated when you log in to the Autodesk services. So nothing, this is just a reporting parameter. The other thing to notice is these notifications. There are two notifications you're going to see from time to time. One is reminders to save, and another is reminders to synchronize with Central. And these are good reminders. Unlike AutoCAD, AutoCAD has a way to auto-save. And these files are saved in a specific folder with the file extension SV $, or $V$. But Revit doesn't have auto-saving. It has auto-reminders. And I think half-an-hour reminders are good. For this particular tutorial, I'm going to disable it. So I'm just going to say, give me no reminders for this, because they may pop up in the middle of a tutorial. It's kind of annoying. But make sure that we save is a habit to save and synchronize with Central. Okay, another thing the reason I came here is because I wanted to enable or disable some tabs. And when you switch to the user interface, there is a panel called Tools and Analysis. And these are checkboxes that enable or disable portions of the user interface. And so I have disabled the mechanical tools, the electrical tools, the piping tools. We're not going to talk about these tools in this class, so check those off. We are going to talk about massing and site. Disable the energy analysis. We don't need them right now. And then I have this route analysis. You may not have this because this is an add-in that you have to install for Revit 2021. And then these infrastructure tools that you also disable. Another thing you may want to customize is the tooltip assistance. I'm going to change this to minimal. The tooltip, it's a help statement that appears at the cursor location, and it describes what a command does. These are very powerful for beginners. If you switch this to high, it's going to start to opening help files with videos and how-to instructions. I like to keep it to the minimum so that I just get enough information about what a tool does. The other thing I'm going to do here, where it says double-click options, this controls what happens when you double-click something in the user interface. And let's click the Customize button here. And this is what happens when you double-click any of these elements. So when it says family, when we double-click a component, it opens the family editor. And that's an error that a lot of us do as a beginner. So I'm going to disable this ability. I'm going to change this to do nothing. Because you know, I don't want you to be confused by opening a family editor by mistake. We can change this later on as we go into family topics. Yeah, and I think that's all I'm going to do here. Just the family, change it to do nothing, and then hit OK. All right, other things that you may just to be aware, these are the default colors of the user interface. Some users like to have the background set to black. That's not my preference. But if this is something you want, sort of mirrors what AutoCAD does, you can do that. It's also easy in the eye. I personally used to the white background, so I'm going to keep it as a white background. And then you have colors for selection, pre-selection, for alerts, for calculating, etc. Okay, there's another setting that it's important that we check together, and this is the location of the templates. And so when you go to the file location, the first panel at the top, it's a file path to the different Revit templates. And so these are installed when you install a Revit. But if you're working in an organization that have a customized template, you may want to add that template and repath it to your local network. You should know where that is. I don't know where they are. But I have metric out of the box. Revit comes with imperial and metric templates. And the one we're going to use a lot in this class is the imperial architectural template. So hopefully you have that. If you don't have that, let me know. Because the typical path is this folder. Is the program data Autodesk Revit template in English Imperial. And so let me know if you do not have it. Okay. And the other important location, it's the panel under the Places button. So under File Location, there's a button called Places. If you hit that button, it's going to open the location for the library of components. And we're going to be using components a lot in the first few classes. So I absolutely need to make sure that you have an Imperial library and that is mapped to this library path. So I'm gonna, if you do not have this, this is really important because otherwise you're gonna fall behind the tutorial. And I don't wanna be like waiting for everyone to have the right folder path. So let's make sure that the Imperial library is correctly pathed. And if you don't have it, just let me know in the chat and I may have a solution for you. All right. So project templates and library of components. These are instructions that tell Revit where to load the information from. Okay, so those are the options we need to be aware. Let's hit OK here. And let's talk more about selections and no, let's do some navigations, navigation control. Okay, this is the view and this is the 3D view. The prior browser, I explained you that aggregates enable me to navigate through the project, and you can open and close the different branches and sub branches inside the project browser. And let's try to open some views. Let's open the floor plan, level 1. This is a horizontal view in the model, looking down. Let's open a ceiling plan. And you can just open the ceiling plan branch, and let's open the first floor ceiling plan. And this is a view through the model at 6 foot high, looking up. Let's look at the elevations. So you can open the elevations and open the north elevation of this building. You can open a view, just double click on it. So notice something that your active view, which is the tab you're currently working on, turn into these bold letters, and this is a visual cue that this is the active view. And in addition to that, the view is reported at the top. So if you're lost in your project and you want to know where you are at, you have 3 places to look at. You can look at the window at the top, you can look at the tab, or you can look at the bold view in the project browser. Let's scroll down and let's open the some details. Like there's a detail view. There's something called detail at grade, and this is a enlarged detail, horizontal detail at one of the wall's foundations. Let's open a schedule. And let's open the door schedule. You can just double click. And this is information contained in the model. And these are parameters in a tabular display. contained by the different Revit families. If you change the values here, they affect the model. If you change the model, it's going to be affect the schedules. So there's this bidirectional parametricity. And then we have a section called sheets. The sheets, it's a title block and views that are placed on top of the view. So this sheet, if you click the plus sign right next to the sheet, you're going to see that this sheet has 5 different views. And the way we assemble a sheet is by dragging and dropping views on top of it. The order in which the views are organized, are named in the sheet, is based on the order in which we place them. So the first detail number 1, this is section through the mains there. This is a view that we drag and dropped into the view, and that was the first one. This is the second, the third, 4, 5. They can be renamed differently later, but when we talk about sheets, I'm going to show you how to do that. And notice that I've been opening all these views, and all these views are starting getting stacked right at the very top. And so Revit is not going to close a view for you unless you decide to close it. If you want to go back and start closing views, you can start clicking the X on each of the tabs. This is going to close views. I think you can display up to 8 or 10 different views, and then things start stacking in a drop-down menu. So I'm going to open a bunch of views. I'm going to try to overload Revit. And notice that as soon as I hit a certain number of views, you don't see all of them in the row of the tabs, but you're going to see this little arrow pointing down. That little arrow, it's going to give you the whole list of everything that is open. There's a limit in how many tabs are visible in the view space, but if you click that little drop down, then you can selectively switch from one view to another view to another view. All right. Any question? Having too many views open at the same time is not a good practice, because one thing Revit does pretty well, it's in undoing and redoing. And so when we make a change in Revit, the change that we do in the floor plan, for example, is going to impact all the views associated with that area. So elevations, sections, detail views, enlarged plans, area plans, all of those are going to get impacted by the changes in the model. The more views you have open in Revit, the more effort Revit is going to need to track the changes in RAM memory. And so my recommendation is to keep maybe 3 or 4 views open at a time. It's very typical for users to keep dozens of views open, but happen by chance. You don't even notice because you're navigating through the model, and then all of a sudden the model is full of views. And so a quick way to close all the views in a single command, it's using the close inactive views. So you pick the view you want to keep. So in this case, I'm going to use this drop-down menu to select the entry level. And then I'm going to tell Revit, rather than clicking each and every of these views one by one, it's a lot of clicks, I'm going to tell Revit to close all the inactive views. And this is a little command that you see in the upper right side. It has like this window with this little red X. When you see that, when you click that, it's going to close everything except the active view. And very quick. All right, so what I was saying is that pick 3 or 4 views and work with those. I'm going to go back and open my 3D view. Remember, this is how you open orthographic view, the house on the hill. Click the house on the hill. And I'm also going to open the south elevation. So I have 3 views and they are stacked. So one thing I also showed you in last class is that Revit doesn't have a command bar. If you are an AutoCAD user, remember AutoCAD has this area where you type commands and you see the progress of the command execution. Revit doesn't have that, but it does have shortcuts. And shortcuts are a combination of 2 or 3 letters that you have to type on the fly. So the first shortcut I'm going to teach to you is a shortcut to tile windows. So WT, it's window tile. And you just type it on the fly. You're not going to notice anything that you type it. You just type it on the fly, and that's going to stack the windows. So WT, notice how now my user interface, it's distributed in 3 different windows. And if I want to return to the previous one, it's the opposite. It's TW. So if you type on the fly TW, it returns me to the tab views. So again, WT, it's a window tile. And TW, it's tile windows. Tabular windows. And so TW, you just type it on the fly. All right, I'm going to stay in this style distribution of views, and notice how each of the views have a different zoom factor. The zoom, it's something that you control using the mouse wheel. So if you scroll in and out the mouse wheel, that's how you zoom in into a view. And then if you press the mouse, wheel and keep it pressed, then notice how the cursor turns into this plus sign. This is called panning. So activate a view, press the mouse wheel to pan around. Every view has 2 elements that has an element floating on the right side. Notice this user interface right here. These are called the navigation bar. Navigation toolbar. The navigation toolbar has commands that allow me to zoom and control the views. So when you hover over one of these and click the arrow pointing down, is going to give you all the zoom controls. So you can zoom in region, which is the equivalent of the AutoCAD zoom window. You pick two points, and Revit is going to zoom in that region. Zoom out is zooming out in a factor of 2. Zoom to fit will fit everything that's visible in the view in the window. Zoom all to fit is going to scan all the open views in the project, and it's going to zoom them all to fit. If we have a sheet, we could also do the zoom sheet, and then previous span is the undo. So all of these have shortcuts that you can type on the fly. I'm going to start with this. Zoom region is ZR. Zoom out is ZO. Zoom to fit is CF. Zoom all is ZA. Zoom to sheet is CS. And then for previous, I don't think there is a shortcut. You can just do undo. Yeah, so these are quick shortcuts that you can use at any point, or you can also click the user interface. So let's try that. Let's do a zoom region, ZR. I'm just typing on the fly ZR, and notice the user interface turn into this window. And I go first click, second click, keep the mouse press, the left mouse press. And then you zoom to that. ZR again. And if I need to zoom to fit, I just type on the fly CF. CF. And it will extend the view to the full display. I'm going to jump into the south elevation and do the same. ZR, zoom region. And then ZF, just type on the fly, zoom to fit. You can also use the mouse, different ways of doing the same thing. Now, if I want all the view in a single command, if I want all the views to fit to the window boundary, then you use the shortcut zoom all to fit. So it's ZA. So again, the shortcut is ZA. Zoom all to fit. I'm just going to type ZA, and you see how the 3 open windows will zoom immediately to the full extent. That's a nice shortcut to make sure that all your views are properly zoomed. Okay, what else? I'm going to return to the tile view. So I'm going to type TW on the fly, TW, and I'm going to stay in the 3D view in brackets. So any question here, guys? Is this good pace? Is this too slow? Too fast? Good? Okay. All right, we are in this 3D view, and when we are in a 3D view, there's an additional component in the upper right side that is typical for all 3D views. This is the navigation cube. Navigation cube. And the navigation cube is a way to orbit around a 3D space to change viewpoints. And this view, this cube has titles, and every side has a way to orient yourself using the project orientation: top, front, right, left, back, bottom. And then also at the bottom of this, there is a wheel. And this wheel has the true north orientation. So let me see if I can zoom here. Let's see. That's too much. Never mind. This cube, you can click on it just to navigate around the center point of the project. You can switch to the top view. When you switch to the top view, you're going to see arrow pointing to the different projection views, left, right, front. If I am in the top view, you're also going to see this double arrow that allow me to rotate a view along its plane. And again, this is just the navigation cube is just a property of 3D views. You're not going to see them in floor plans or elevations or sections. And then you also have the navigation wheel, which capture the true north orientation. So we have as architects, you know this, every project has two orientations. One is the project north, which aligns the project orthogonally to the views and to the sheets. And this is how we place and work our floor plans in our project documentation. And then we'll have the true north. The true north is a geolocation, the geolocated orientation of the project. It's important because enable us to do solar studies and enable us to do correct photorealistic renderings. In this example, the project north, which is the orientation of the cube, and the true north are exactly at the same location. They are pointing up in the view. But usually, you know, in most projects, there's always a declination between project north and true north. When we talk about project settings and shared coordinates, I'm going to talk more about how to define the declination between project north and true north. And then you're going to see that this angle varies. Like they're not always going to be aligned like we have here. Another thing in the cube box is this little house in the upper left side of the icon. This is the default home view, and this is useful in case you start clicking and zooming, and then suddenly you are in the bottom, and then you lost control. You don't know what to do here now. Just hit the little house, and that's going to take you to the default view. And the default view is usually the southeast corner of the project. You can always change it as well. So let's look at some of the properties of a 3D view. Notice how Revit has in the properties different types of parameters. And so the Revit properties, these are called the parameters, and these are the parameter values. And then inside the properties, we have parameter groups. So I'm going to type this. Parameter groups. Then we have something called parameters. And then we have the parameter values. And so the parameter groups can be stacked or can be displayed or just by clicking this arrow right next to the parameter groups. And you can open it again as well. One of the parameter groups for a 3D view is the camera. And notice how there is a projection mode that says orthographic. So we're looking at an isometric here. And what that means that we don't have perspective points. But you can turn orthographic representation into a perspective view using this projection mode. And when you do that, then suddenly you have perspective views. And this is probably useful when we're doing like renderings, or we are preparing a presentation and we want to like make it more real. I'm going to stick with orthographic for now. But now I'm going to also show you how to create cameras and navigate through the project. So before I move out from this view, there's another important shortcut that I need you to show you. And this is, you must remember this because it's going to use it, you're going to use it a lot. And this is a shortcut that is a combination of Shift and the mouse wheel, and then move the mouse with both things pressed. I'm going to type it here. Shift, the Shift key plus the mouse wheel plus move, just move it, move the mouse, move the mouse. You know, I don't know how I switched from red to pink. But let's do that. Shift, mouse wheel, and then you see that cursor turn into this double arrow around a point. And this is orbiting the model around the center point of the project. And the center point is the gravityte, the geometrical center of all the project. So the pivot point is the center of the project. I use it a lot because it's helped me a lot just navigate through a specific place. Say, for example, I want to look at the entry canopy of this project. I very quickly just circle around, zoom into this, then I shift and move again, zoom in. So the combination of zoom in and pivot, it's something that you want to learn and get comfortable with. Again, Shift, mouse wheel. By default, the orbit, this orbit command goes to the geometrical center of everything that's visible in the view. But if you pick something on the project, for example, I'm going to pick that tree, then I can use Shift and the mouse wheel and use the tree as the pivot center. So notice now that the center of the world is the selected tree. Let's do something else. I'm going to pick these other three here. And I use, again, the command Shift, mouse wheel. The center, the pivot center is the selected element. Or if I select this canopy, Shift, mouse wheel, and move the mouse. I'm keeping pressed both the Shift and the mouse. So basic shortcut, you're going to use it a lot. Write it down, memorize it. We're going to use it a lot during the modeling process. Okay, let's move now into selection controls. Any questions? See chat panel here. Nobody? Okay. Maybe, yeah. I'm deciding which order to go. I'll do first maybe the views, and then we're going to go into selections. I'm going to open the entry level, the floor plan level 1. So I want to show you how Revit navigates. So this is a construction floor plan, let's say a schematic design, and notice how in the project we already have some elevations, some sections, and some enlarged plans. If you look at this symbol here, this is the symbol of an exterior elevation. Some may argue whether this is the correct symbol, but this is what the sample file has. And right now it has a dash because this means that a view has been created perpendicular to the model, but this view hasn't been placed in any sheet. And in addition, we have a section here. This section does have information. It's telling me that it's detail 1 on sheet A2. And this is telling me that that view is already placed inside a sheet. If I remove that view from the sheet, then this is going to become a dash again. This is a section. If you like section, when you select a section, you're going to notice that there is like a blue dash line that define the boundary of the section and the depth of the section. This is how far you can see in the section projection. And you're going to see that there's a double arrow associated with the symbol, and you can stretch it in and out. And this is a visual way to define how far that section is going to be looking into. To navigate into the section is very easy. Just double click the blue arrow. And that's going to open the section view. And remember, I was talking about the depth. How far in space you see the section is something that you can define in the floor plan. For example, if I select this section and I grab the handle and I make it very narrow, then this section is going to stop right at that line. I'm going to keep it as it was. This is FYI. So this is the section that I opened. And notice also that the section all now disclose a wall section. And the wall section also has populated bubble. It's detail 2 in sheet A2. To navigate into that detail, just double click the symbol. And that's going to open the wall section. The wall section also has 2 enlarged details, one for the parapet, another one for the graded beam. And they have been placed in a sheet. If I want to open that detail, just double click it. And I am now in the parapet detail. And notice also that inside this detail, there is a typical detail of a typical waterproofing. And you double click this detail 5A2. And now this is a CAD file that has been placed into a drafting view, which is typical and provided by the manufacturers, and explain how the waterproofing works at that condition. And so we go from big views to very detailed views, all using a system of interconnected views, but we are just always looking at the same model. I'm going to show you how to create one now, and we're going to do this again. But as we model a building, it's important to understand how the views work. For example, these elevation markers, if you want to see the east elevation, just double click the arrow. And this is the east elevation. So I'm going to stick with the floor plan, entry level 1. I'm going to show you how to create some views. So this is the easy part of Revit. Once everything is modeled, extracting the views, extracting the sections, extracting the elevations, it's piece of cake. All the way we create views, it's under the View tab. Again, I am in the entry level, floor plan entry level. And I go to the View tab. And in the Create panel, these are all the different ways in which we create views. And we have views. You can create sections, you can create elevations, you can create floor plans, callouts, vertical and horizontal, enlarged plans, etc. So let's create a very simple section, east-west. So I'm going to hit on section here. And a section, it's a two-point operation. The first click brings the bubble. And then here's another one. If you screw up, just hit escape twice. Escape, and that's going to cancel the command. This is also important. Let's type it here. Escape. One escape means deselect. Deselect. And two escape means cancel and deselect. So if you're in the middle of something and you, oh, that's not what I need to do, just escape. An example, select something. You want to deselect that, escape once. Now, if I want to create a section and I'm in the middle of a command, to exit this command, escape. All right, but I do want to create a section. So go to the View tab, hit the Section tool, and this is one of the things we're going to use a lot is this this element in the property window. This is called the type selector. Again, remember this term, the type selector, because the type selector enable the user to use a specific type of definition or family. And so when you hit the type selector, it displays the different type of sections that I can create. I can create detail section, building sections, or wall sections. I want to create a building section. And then the first click brings the bubble, the section bubble. The second click brings the section tail. And that's it. This is a section created. If you want to see it, just double click the section arrow, this blue part of the arrow. And that's going to open the section I just created. And so notice how automatically Revit coordinates the grids this is the same objects, just looking from a different view, all the level and level elevations, and any cross section that is that the section intersects. Let's go back to the floor plan, and I'm going to do it again if any of you fall behind. I am in the entry level. I'm going to create another one right here. So you go to the View tab, section. In the type selector, pick the building section family type. This is a view type. The first click brings the section head. The second click brings the section tail. And once you're done, hit escape to cancel the command. A new section is created. Double click the arrow, and that's going to bring the section view. Okay. Let's take a look at these elevation markers. Elevation markers are made of two components. One is the elevation marker itself. Notice how this marker has checkboxes that enable me to create additional views. But if you select the elevation arrow, you're gonna see a big blue line. And this blue line is the elevation view. And so this marker can be moved to a different location, and I just select it and drag it. But when I select the elevation arrow, notice how the blue line is still in the same location. And so when we relocate elevations, we need to select the two elements. We need to select the marker and the view. And the best way, easy way to select both of them is using window selection. A window selection will select everything inside the boundary. And notice when I do that, Revit tells me that there are two elements in the selection. I can also look at the number of selected elements right here. And you can just drag both the view and the marker to a new location. Notice now when I select this arrow, now this elevation is technically becoming into a section because it's intersecting the building physically. And why I'm saying this, because when we start a new project, you're going to see these 4 markers in the screen. And it's important that we learn how to manipulate and change those default elevations to the right location of the building. Yeah, let's now, so I show you how to create a section. I show you how to manipulate the elevations. Let's create an enlarged floor plan. For example, notice how in the upper right side of the building, there is a toilet. And let's say I'm going to create an enlarged plan for that toilet. So we do that using callouts. And a callout is a boundary around an area in the model that it's defined as a different view, but it's the same, it's the same model. So you go to the View tab, and again, under callouts, you can create rectangular callouts, or you can sketch the shape of a callout. I'm just going to do the rectangular callout. So rectangular callout around the toilet. So first click, second click. That creates a bubble, a boundary and a bubble. Notice that you can select the bubble head. Also, when you select the boundary itself, you will represent it with all these different grips. These grips allow you to resize or fine-tune the location of that view, the boundaries of that view. You will also notice that there are a middle grip and an end grip, a grip that is really close to the bubble. If you click on that grip, you can relocate the position of the head, so that is not interfering with the rest of the element. So you can double click on that, and that's going to take you to the enlarged floor plan. And it will bring with it all the elevations, all the grid lines that intersect with the view. And you can change it with a different scale as well. All right, I'm going to repeat this again. If you fall behind, I'm going to do now an enlarged plan around the electrical closet. So you go to the View tab, call out, rectangle. The first click is going to be the upper right side of this electrical closet. The second click is the lower left, upper right, lower left. Place the boundary. To relocate the bubble, select it. You're going to see those grips. Identify the grip that is close to the bubble. click on the grip to relocate the head. And then just double click, and then you have a view to the enlarged portion of the view. Is it clear? Easy? Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the floor plan. Now I'm going to show you about selection and selection controls. Let's go to the 3D view. So the 3D view in brackets, you can also hit the 3D view in the hill, the house in the hill. When you have a view like this, everything is visible in a single view. And this is good to give you an overall view, but it's very hard to model that. For example, if I need to make a change in the electrical floor, in the electrical plan in 3D, I'm going to have a hell of a hard time identifying here where the hell that electrical closet is. And so learning how to control the visibility of elements in Revit, it's fundamental. I'm going to show you how to do that. One of the controls that you're going to need to learn manipulate very quickly, it's the visibility graphics. The visibility graphics, it's the closest that I can relate it to the AutoCAD world. It's like the layers, right? But forget about layers. In BIM, in Revit, we don't have layers. What we have is a concept of categories of objects. And so the categories of objects can be switched on and off in different views. To enable the visibility graphics, just type on the fly VG. So the shortcut for visibility graphic is VG, visibility graphics override. And now another shortcut to remember, and one that we're going to use very, very often. So you type VG, and that brings this big dialog box. Don't be scared of this. It's actually super easy. And this display all the categories in Revit. Objects in Revit are aggregated by category. And you can selectively enable or disable the visibility using these checkboxes. For example, if I want to switch off the roof, just scroll down, find the roof category, disable the view. I'm going to hit apply here. Apply allow me to execute the command without exiting. If you hit OK, then the dialog box is going to be closed. But if you hit apply, the dialog box will remain, and I can continue doing that. So notice when I do that now, the category of roof is switched off. Again, the shortcut is VG. I'm also going to scroll down and find the topography and switch it off. I'm also going to switch off the plants. I don't need the plants. So I'm going to the planting category, hit the checkbox next to planning, apply it. And now my view is getting a little cleaner, right? And visibility graphic is exactly that. For different views, you can have certain elements enable and certain categories switch off. I'm going to hit OK here. And I'm going to go back to visibility graphic because this is a big topic around controlling visibility. Another thing to know, and I'm going I'm getting close to 7 here. 7. I'm gonna finish around 7:15. These are called the view controls. Remember, view controls. And these are commands that impact how the elements are presented in the view. So if you change elements here, if you change any view control, that's going to impact how this is displayed. Easy. Want to change how things are displayed here, you can do that using the view controls. Let's use some of the common ones. Something easy is the visual style. And the visual style, and forgive me because these icons are very, very small. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. It worked. Here, these are the view controls. And so the blue box next to the sun, that is the view graphics or the graphic controls. And this icon enable me to display the model in different graphic display modes. If you switch this to wireframe, everything inside is visible. Sometimes this is useful to see what's lying behind, but in this particular view, it's a little busy. Then we have hidden lines. Hidden lines just display the surfaces in black and white, and black lines and white. There's no color associated with that. You can switch the view to shaded. When you do shaded, it displays some material colors. It also give a little shading. Like notice how there are different values of gray to the walls depending on the orientation. You have also consistent colors, which apply the same value of color across all the surfaces. And then you have this realistic mode. Realistic mode is like a preview render. It's like a live render. And it takes few seconds to produce because Revit needs to extract the texture for every family. And it's like, let's call it a draft render. And this is going to start displaying, you can see here, the texture of the wall, the carpet behind this curtain wall, render view, realistic views. It's has undergone a lot of improvements in the last few versions of Revit, in particular with the use of new enhanced materials. But using a realistic for modeling is not a good idea because it consumes a lot of RAM and it can slow down your system. So I would recommend using either hidden line, which is more optimized, or shaded. I'm going to stick with shaded. But these are ways to change the graphic display of the view. The other one is the scale. So the scale is particularly useful in floor plans. I'm going to switch to my entry-level one floor plan, and the scale view. Revit, you can assign different scale to views, and then the annotation objects will increase in size according to the view. For example, I'm going to switch this to a quarter of a view. Notice what happens with the dimensions, the text, the annotations. They seem to decrease in size. And this is to when this is printed, it maintains consistent height of text. And in order to keep it in different scales, it just scales up and down the annotation objects. So now I'm going to change it from 1/4 to 1/8. And notice how everything, all the annotations grow in size. If this was a site plan at 1 = 20, then it's going to get even bigger. And so scale control the size of the annotation objects. So I'm going to keep this at 1/8 of an inch. And another thing to notice is that the changes that you apply to the view via the view controls are reflected in the view property. So if I change 1/8 of an inch here, then the view scale is going to change as well. Here, for example, we were looking at a graphic display, and then the graphic display, it's right here. So there's a correlation between the properties of the view and the changes we do using the view controls. So let's go back to my 3D view. And let's display shadows. And the shadows, it's in the sun path. Just to go hand by hand. When a view control has that X, like red X, that means that it is disabled. So this is a disabled sun, and this is a disabled shadow. When you click on the icon, it's going to get enabled. So I'm going to enable the sun path on. And it's asking me for a specific location. Let's use the use specific product location, time, and date. And notice that now I have a sun path. This is a sun that is aligned with the wheel. Remember this wheel? The orientation of this wheel, it's a visual indication of the true north-south geo-reference of the project. And I just turn it on. Sun path off. And sun path on. This is a specific date. Notice that this is the path of the sun for May 10. The hours in red describe the time for the sunrise and the time for the sunrise and the sunset. And you can change it. You can just click if you want to see the path of a different date. Just click on this date and say, let's do December of 2021. I think you have to use this calendar to pick a different date. And notice now how the sun path completely changes along with the values for that sunrise and sunset. There is a representation of the sun. You can see here there's this big sphere. And you can actually bring the sun up. If you click on it and drag it, you can pick a different time of the day. And now if you enable the shadows, which is the next icon next to the sun, then you can see how the sun impact. You can do a solar analysis, basically. Also, when you click the sun, you're going to see the entire envelope for the entire year. And you can drag in the sun to a different date and month, or you can also drag it along its path for a different time of the day. So again, these are ways of controlling and changing the way a view looks like. And this is good for creating visualization and renderings. I'm going to disable now the shadows. I'm also going to disable the sun path. Sun path off, shadows off. And now I want to also show you a trick that will allow us to switch to different floor plans. I know I give you a lot of material today, but it's Revit. Revit is a complex project, a complex program. Feel free to review the recording and follow on your end. I can visualize the 3D view according to the floor plans established in the project browser, or create crop views according to the floor plans. And you do that using the right-click options over the navigation box. So I'll do this twice so you can follow along. I'm going to orient the 3D view with a crop section that is aligned with the floor plan level 1. So the way you do that is you move your cursor over the navigation box, hit the right click, and go to Orient to View, Floor Plans, and select Floor Plan Level 1 Entry Level. And what this does, it's just crop the 3D view and make it align with the crop region defined in level 1, in the entry level 1. So whatever you see in the projection view, you also see it now in a 3D view. This is the ground level. And with this view, I can work in 3D. It's easy to work in the ground level in 3D using this view than it is to use the whole building in the same display in full extent. Let's go to the second floor. I'm going to do it again. Right click on the box, then go to Orient View, Floor Plans, Floor Plan Level 2. This is a right click on top of the navigation box. And again, this is going to crop the view and display it according to the floor plan level. And I am now looking at the floor plan level 2. And this could be a working view so that you can work in plan, and you can work in 3D, you can work in elevation, you can stack these windows side by side. And it's a quick way to model in 3 dimensions using the boundaries of the levels. And let's do this also for the roof. You go right click floor plans. Let's do the roof plan. And now I have in the 3D view just the display of the roofs. So as we start modeling next week, these are ways in which you can choose to work either in projection floor plans or in 3D. Now to return the view to the full extent, just see, I think you just disable the section box. Yeah, you just in the 3D view, select, there's a checkbox called section box, disable it, and that's going to take me back to the full view. So you can practice this at home on your end. orient to view. Try doing it also for a section. For example, if you try to orient this to the section through the main stair, now this is going to crop the 3D view and it's going to create a 3D dimensional section. And this match exactly the line of the section view that's sectioning the building north-south. Or you can, again, section, orient to a view to wall section, typical wall sections. You do this, and now I have a three-dimensional wall section with the extent that matches the wall section that I have already defined here. This is the wall section in projection view. This is the wall section with the same crop region in a 3D view. And again, to return to the full extent, go to the 3D view properties, and disable the checkbox, and that's going to take me back to the full extent. It's 7:15, and I still needed to go over the selection control, but I'm going to do that on Tuesday. So again, there's no homework. I throw a lot of knowledge this first class, especially if you're new. Feel free to review the recording and practice with the same model. So go ahead and save this model. I'm going to go File, Save. The shortcut for save is Control S. Control plus S equals saving. And we're gonna pick this model again next class to go over the selection controls, which are here. There are other controls that I did not talk about it, and I'm going to go over as well, like the temporary height isolate, the reveal hidden elements. I'm going to talk about that next class, and then how to make big selection controls, use the filters, and individually manipulate elements by categories. So again, save the file, put it in a place that you can access for the next class. And again, if you need me to stay a little bit for questions you have on your end and you want to share your screen, feel free to stay. Otherwise, I'll see you on Tuesday. All right, guys, have a great weekend.
Bye-bye, you too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
What-
you, Cesar.
Okay.